Weekend. Hope things are going well for you, with your family and everything. I hope you can see me clearly. Let me just move this and adjust this a little bit more. So today, we're just going to quickly do a study, a torso study, and I'm just going to talk about what I've learned from drawing the torso. Um, yeah, because a few weeks ago I did some torso studies. I'm just going to be talking about and discussing the things that I've learned. I hope you can see me clearly, and hopefully this would be a productive stream. If you have any questions along the way, please let me know. Um, and we'll just have a bit of fun together. Yeah. So I'm just going to be breaking down the things that I've learned from you know my whole process and study. This was a sketch that I did during a last stream I did with my friend Dio. I did it yesterday, and it was nice. The reason why I'm doing this is to refresh my memory on what I've learned, but also to learn new things because I'm going to be referencing anatomy for artists. I don't know, it's kind of the reference is kind of there, and I just want the iPad to be showing properly. I don't want to split the screen, so I'm just going to be drawing. Um, I'm going to be starting with the torso. So, first of all, the things we need to know about drawing the torso is, you kind of need to know about your landmarks, the landmarks of the human body, right? The landmarks of the human body. So, or rather, the landmarks of the chest. So whenever I am talking about landmarks, when we're drawing in general, right? Remember, you break things down into simple shapes for your understanding. So squares, circles, cones, cylinders, right? These are simple shapes that help us to understand and simplify complex forms, right? So with a drawing here, and drawing the torso, you could use simple shapes such as a circle to represent the torso, or the rib cage, right, which is one of the landmarks, that there are going to be further landmarks around the rib cage, which is going to be shown. So, and then break it down, and you have your chest, and you could use a simple cylinder to represent the neck, and then another circle to represent the deltoid, right? And you kind of have your torso, and then you know a simple, you could use another circle, or you could use like a box shape, or you could use an underwear shape to represent the pelvis. Yeah, something as simple as this, and then you can then further break it down and add some more details around the body. So this could be your deltoid, and your chest, and then this would be your you know your abs, yeah, your lats and obliques and whatnot. And we've simply broken down the torso, the human torso, with just simple shapes as our guide. Yeah, so simple shapes are very important. So you could use a circle, or you could use a cube, right, to represent the simple shape, right? And this cylinder over here the is representing the spine. It's representing the spine, something like this. And then you have to get your big shapes out there first, and then also break it down. And then you've drawn something as simple. You've used these simple shapes to actually break down how a chest would look, rather, right? And always use references as often as possible, because it's going to make the whole process fun and easy, right? You don't need to memorize all the muscles, but the muscles of the torso are quite simple to memorize in comparison to like the arms. So the more studies you do, you're definitely going to improve and get better. So yeah, that's it for that. And when I talked about landmarks, I'm just going to mention them. So we have the collarbone, uh, and then we have like sort of like the shoulder blade because it's very important. But so let me just draw this. All right, so we have our circle. I'm going to use a circle this time to represent the torso. We have our circle, and then um, I'm going to use this to represent the rest of the torso, and I'm going to put my underwear shape here like this. Of course, there's room for adjustment and things like that, but and center line is also important to help guide you. Center line, very important. And then I'll put a big shape here, which is going to represent the a big shape which is going to represent the shoulder blade, right? The blade at the back of your torso, right? Shoulder blade. Hello, Russia, Reddit. Um, how are you doing? I also saw someone commented, from Iran as well. And hello, Dara. I'm doing a breakdown of the human torso, because I have been doing a study of the human torso. I did it a few weeks ago, and now I'm like doing a breakdown of it, and I'm doing a quick study. So I'm just drawing it. I'm drawing. That's what I'm doing. Uh, how you doing, Russia again? How's Iran? How's everything? Hope you're having a nice weekend. Um, I'm just doing a quick study here. I'm trying to break these things down and refresh my memory as well. So I'm currently talking about the landmarks that actually make up the torso. So we have our collarbone here, or our clavicle, right? And it's not straight, it's curved. Hello, Dara. You said, okay, don't stop, bro. I've gotten into art and it's like hard, but don't stop. Thank you for the encouragement. I really appreciate it. I won't stop. Art is something I, take very seriously. It's, my career, and it's my life. So yeah, I take it very seriously. Thanks for the encouragement. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so some of the landmarks and some of the muscles, we have our pectoralis major, or our chest, rather. You could just call it your chest, our pectoralis major, and it's connected to our sternum, um, and which is our breastbone and our clavicle, and then some of the parts of the chest is also connected to the abdomen, right? Um, and then always have your construction at the back of your head. So we have our deltoid, which is also connected to the clavicle, right? And our humerus bone, and it's overlapping the pectoralis major. It's overlapping the pectoralis major. And then we have our triceps and our brachialis muscles. Yes. So we have that, and then the next thing we have is our abs, right? One way I draw my abs is that because the abs sort of follows the rib cage, so I just use this shape to just get my abs, and the abs is connected. It's sort of beneath the abs is beneath rectus abdominis. It's beneath the pectoralis major, right, or our chest. We have it like this, and it goes all the way down like this. Yeah, I'm very sure if I rotate this is going to look skewed. And just adjust it a bit, right? And then we have our other deltoid over here like this, as simple as that. And then we have our trapezius muscles or our neck. Our trapezius muscle is this guy over here like this. And then our sternocleidomastoid, which goes all the way down. Well, down like this. Yeah, and we've drawn our torso. Yeah, so we have our obliques over here. This is our obliques. Then we have our lats like this. I'm going to do the back as well, so you'll see how the lats looks, but I'm just going to take it step by step. Right, and then our serratus anterior, serratus simply means saw-like. Saw-like. And if you actually look at the serratus muscle, it looks like a saw. It looks like this. Let me see. If you look at the serratus anterior, look at the muscle here. You can see how the muscle looks. It actually looks like a saw, right? So whenever you're studying some of this muscle, it's quite good to just do a quick Google search and just see how these muscles actually look. And it goes all the way to the chest like this, but it's covered by the pectoralis major, right? So the serratus anterior goes like this. Yeah, and then we have our obliques connected to it all the way down, right? So let me just quickly make this look a bit more nicer. The striations are going all the way down because they are connected to the pectoralis muscles is connected to our humerus bone in a fan-like twist. Fan-like twist. In a fan-like twist. Right. So we have this. If you look at any really like muscular person, because of how their muscles are popping like from their bones and stuff like that, how like heavy their chest is, you're going to see that there is a gap over here in between the clavicle, the deltoid, and the pectoralis muscle. And that gap over there is called a deltopectoral groove. And it's called that because it's like a valley that is created by three intersections. Pecto meaning the pectoralis, delto meaning the deltoid, and they didn't feel the need to add a clavicle in the name for whatever reason, right? So I hope that is clear. Let me just make the abs. Let me just make the abs visible like this, and very simply we've been able to get the look of the torso, of the male torso, very simply. So these are the main things you need to look out for whenever you are drawing the torso. Whenever you're drawing, I'll just list them out quickly so that you can see them. So we have our trapezius muscle. Our trapezius muscle. We have our deltoid. We have our pectoralis muscle. We have our sternocleidomastoid. Let me just put ST, sternocleidomastoid. Then we have our rectus abdominis. Rectus abdominis. We have our obliques. We have our obliques, external obliques. We have our lats just creeping out, and yeah, you could add the, try the biceps, the little biceps. Yeah, so I think these are the major muscles. Yeah, so I'm just going to color them a bit so that you're going to sort of see, what's going on. Hello, Roya. How are you doing, Roya? Apologies if I'm butchering you guys' name. Hope you are doing well. Hope you're having a nice night. I'm just doing a quick study of the male torso and sort of like doing a quick breakdown. And I'm just trying to do a refresher because I did a study of the male torso before, and I'm just trying to sort of recall what I've studied, and I have references with me to sort of help me and aid me in the study. I talk about anatomy a lot because it's something that I'm not good at. I'm not so good at. I'm good at it, but I'm not at the level that I want to be. So I'm trying to improve. So that's why I talk about anatomy a lot. Um, so that I study it over and over again so that I can improve and I won't forget the things that I've learned. I hope you're having a nice day. Hope you're having a nice night or morning, wherever the time zone you're from. And just adding the striations real quick. I'm just going to add the colors. Let me just take this up a bit. I'm going to add the colors so that it's going to be consistent. It's going to be consistent. Yes, so our traps, yeah, I'm going to put that as red. I'm going to put the traps as red. Is this guy over here. And then our deltoid, I'm going to put that as orange. I'm going to put that as orange. Our deltoid as orange. And our pectoralis, I'll put that as yellow. Right, it's important to take note of the connections and to know which muscles are overlapping so that whenever you look at a real life photo, it's going to be a whole lot easier. So at least the colors is going to make the quick drawing a whole lot better. And the next thing is the sternocleidomastoid. Just going to give it a lemonish color. I really should be adding these colors here like this. Deltoid, traps. So rectus abdominis. This guy over here. And just feel that. Rectus abdominis are obliques. 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 External obliques. I believe they are internal obliques, but we're not seeing them, so the same thing here. You can see the muscles are not so much. They're quite easy to remember. Then the serratus, the lats, put the lats. I didn't put the serratus anterior. Let me do that now. Serratus anterior. Serratus anterior. just do that. Oh, error. And yeah, and then lastly, we're going to add the deltoid over here. Wait, for the biceps, no, for the biceps, I mean, I said deltoid, biceps. Anyways, so that's the first study we've done. So do something else. Let's do something else. Let's look at the let's look at it in another angle, how we could translate it realistically, because we're not going to be looking at these muscles like this when we look at them realistically. So let me just quickly do that. So three things you need to take note of: the bones, the muscles, and how it's going to translate into realism, or comic art style, whatever it is that you're doing. Hello Dio. Hope you're having a nice day, having a nice night. I appreciate the support, man. Thanks for showing up once again. uh Thank you. You remember our big shapes when I'm breaking this down. Remember the big shapes. So you use a cylinder and a sphere to break down, and you also have a center line, depending on the angle you want to draw it in. And then you have uh, the landmarks I told you about. You're going to have your sternum and your clavicle. So this T line that I just drew here like this is going to represent this line that goes horizontally is going to represent the sternum. It's going to represent the clavicle, and the line that goes vertically is going to represent the sternum, right? The chest bone, the breastbone, the rib cage rather. The reason why we have this shape is because we are sort of following the shape of like our rib cage. Yes, we're trying to follow our rib cage. That's why it is being drawn this way. I'm sorry, let me just do that again. Like we're trying to follow our rib cage. We're trying to follow our rib cage. Yeah, something like this. This is how our rib cage looks. And then we have this shape over here, which is our sternum, and then our clavicle. It's usually not straight, so let me just try and get this. It's usually not straight like this. Yeah, that looks very rough, but I hope you get the message. So um, that is the reason for all this. So you have to sort of deconstruct it to understand how it looks. I need to fix this other sternum. It's driving me mad. And there's something like this. This other clavicle I meant to say. All right, so we have our T over here. And then the next thing we then do is that you see that your muscles, right, the pectoralis muscle, it's it's stretching to become part of the arm, right? It's stretching to become part of the arm. So like this. And then the pectoral groove that I just told you about, and just expand this like this. Right, and that's how the deltoid connects to the pectoralis and the collarbone, rather let's just call it the collarbone. And then this other side and this other angle, we have our pectoralis like this as well, and then it's connected like this. And then we have our deltoid shape like this. So as simple as that. So we've been able to go from using a circle or sphere and also a cylinder to simply, getting the shape of our torso, right? To get the shape of our torso. So we have our triceps over here. And then our biceps. That's our brachialis, by the way. If you have any questions, just let me know, guys. And then um, because this is the like foundation that you sort of need to be able to, if you're interested in doing comics, to be able to do comics. This is the foundation you need for that. Anyways, and it's not the most perfect chest. It can be better, but we'll work with it. As you can see, we've broken it down again. Always remember to use simple shapes for whatever it is you're drawing. It's just going to make your life a whole lot easier, even if you're drawing from like reference or from scratch, right? What has always helped my pose these days is simply because I use simple shapes to sort of sketch out the ideas that I have, first of all. To sketch out the ideas that I have, and then I can modify it like with references, right? So our lats here, um, our rectus abdominis, remember it goes straight all the way down, right? It's just that and everybody has one. Like when you say you don't have abs, I think the right thing to say is that you don't have visible abs, but that muscle still exists. Like everyone has that muscle. It's just all about like exercising so that the muscle can actually pop up, right? So that you can develop that muscle and make it grow. But the muscle exists. The muscle exists. So, right, and then remember we're still using our center line to sort of guide us. We're using our center line to sort of guide us. And then you could then like part this, the first side, the second, and then the third. Like this, as simple as this, and you have your abs. Your abs. So some people have three sets of abs that are visible. Other people have two, and other people have all four visible. So it just depends on body fat percentage and how developed the muscles are. And then we then have our obliques. Let me just put our serratus anterior here like this. And just put it to go down like this. Because the serratus, it's on its own, and then it's sort of overlapping, like it's sort of interlocked with the obliques. And then the serratus is then overlapped by our latissimus dorsi, which is like the biggest back muscle that we have. And then you could add the fibers on the muscle, if you want. Add the fibers on the muscle. As easy as that, and we've simply been able to draw our torso. Don't worry, I'm going to do more. Um, I'm going to do the back view as well. I'm going to do the back view as well. And you're going to see all this, like this deltopectoral groove, you're going to see it on like some muscular references that I have. And then later on, I'm going to look at how, comic book artists actually show this. Um, Once you've learned this, you're going to start seeing how skilled a lot of artists are, because you're going to see how they like easily apply things like this to their work. You're going to be wondering how easy it is. Like, you're going to be seeing like, oh, now I sort of understand how this artist are able to draw so easily, because they have done the hard work, the difficult work in the background, which is not easy, which is not easy. So yeah, that is that for this side. So I'm just going to show you how it's going to look realistically, because a human being's muscles aren't going to look like that. So I'm just going to just reduce the opacity on this side, and I'm just going to do a little bit of shading here and there. So a little bit of shading here and there, and just put the outlines. And then I'm going to do it like it's a comic that I'm doing. Like with line work, like I talked about yesterday when I was looking at Inoue's work. You don't have to put like connect every line. If not, it's not going to look fluid. It's not going to look realistic. It's just going to look overwhelming and annoying to your viewers' eyes, right? So you just have to know when to use broken lines. Just have to know when to use them. Right. So because of the skin, because like I always say, the skin is like a cloth, like when you wear a cloth on top of your body. So the skin is like that for the muscles, and that is going to lead to creases. That is going to lead to creases. And just get some of this. Going to lead to creases. All right, so you're not going to see this line of the lats like I drew, but it's just an indication, so that because most times you're going to see the muscles, they're going to pop up like this. They're going to pop up like this, and you're going to see a bit of shadows here and there. And like if it's like a comic book art, you see a lot more shadows, and they use a lot more striations when they are doing comics. They use a lot more striations. Seems like I'll just start shading it so that it's going to look all right, and just add some hatches. Let's add some hatches. Mm. Then you can just use this way to just properly add form to your drawing. You always just, because this side is very dark. This side is going to be very dark because of the intersection and the shadow. It's going to be quite dark. And this side as well. And then you can put your and draw these lines that actually pop out like this, depending on what you want to achieve. Yeah, something like that. Oh, I realized I didn't put music. Let me just add a bit of audio in the background. Let me add a bit of audio. All right. All right. Also take note of the light's direction whenever you're shading. I know we're not talking about shading here, but if you're just doing it to, sort of make the work look good, remember your light's direction. Remember our obliques are going to form like this. And there are several ways that you could attack the shadows. Like the way I treat shadows, I don't take them lightly. I treat them the same way I treat normal drawings and normal shapes, because they can have like huge significant impact on the solidity and the 3D look of your drawing. Now, it also depends on your art style, to be fair, the style you're going for, um, or the style that you're copying. But you have to take value rather, or shading very seriously, um, because it's going to determine how much life it gives your work. Right. So you are using a light that is actually coming from the top, so that's why we have a lot of shadows on the bottom. Like this. Right. So I think I'm going to not detail anymore. I think that's okay. I think I've passed my point. I don't want to be here all day. You can see the neck muscle. Then you can just add this deep here like this. You can just add that deep there. So I think I'm going to leave it here. Of course, I could add more detail um, to make it look cleaner. I'll leave it here and let me just look at something else. So let me see. Let me show you how, like, when I say how it looks on the side view. So we have the side view. One thing I always talk about when drawing the neck is that, let me just show you quickly. When looking at the human body on the side view, it's not necessarily straight, it's curved like this, right? So the neck, human body is not just straight like this. There's a curve, and that's because of the spine. and that is to properly balance the human body and its weight. Right, and we also use simple shape to break that down to make that look nice. There's something like this, and then we have our shape, a human body shape, male torso, side view, and then you could always put your deltoid here. I use tubes to get the shape of the hands. So something like that. And then you can put your chest. And then your abs like this. And then your abdominis. And then a bit of the serratus muscle is going to then pop up like this. And then show you your obliques, the striation leading to your obliques. And then your hands like this. And just put the deltoid muscle like this. That's our triceps. Yeah, we're not dealing with the arm, so we'll not look at that. We'll not look at that here. So just the torso, and the deltoid happens to be part of it, and some of the back muscles as well. Yeah, something as simple as that. Now I'm going to quickly do like the back view, the back muscles, I mean. Mm. Oh my. Yawning. Alright, let me do the back muscles. So the same shape that we use to draw the front, we're going to use it for the back as well. So we use our sphere, or you can use your square depending on your preference. Simple square or rectangle, and then I use my big shapes for the deltoid. Right, square and just simple square and circles on the side. And adding the muscles of the back. So or landmarks rather, the muscles you need to take note of. So I'm just going to put this down here like this to guide me to know where I'm supposed to be in terms of like drawing. So that's our triceps, our trapezius muscle, I mean. And the reason, well, at least that's the reason I sort of gave in my head. I don't know if it's real or not, but I sort of look at the trapezius muscle because it sort of has this diamond-like shape, and there are sort of like 4 groups that are put into one, and it's found around the neck. So something like this, and it's right next to the sternocleidomastoid, which pops up from the root of the ear all the way to the clavicle, all the way to the clavicle and sternum. So these are trapezius muscle for back muscle here. Connected all the way down. Some people call it the butterfly muscle. And when you see the traps surrounded by flesh, and you can sort of see how you could look at it as a butterfly muscle. You could see how it could be the butterfly muscle. Right, and then you then add our deltoid like this. You could call it the rear delt because it's at the back, right? All these words like anterior, posterior, lateral, medial, they're going to, like, once you know those basic words and understand them in the human body, it's going to be very easy for you to memorize these muscles and landmarks of the body, so that you can then apply them to your drawing and you won't be confused whenever you're copying from a live reference, because lighting and color can really confuse um you know, like the sort of what we are seeing a lot of the times. So we have the deltoid here, and then we have our lats that I was talking about. So it goes like this. It goes all the way to the humerus bone as well. It also attaches to the humerus bone. So the pectoralis is not the only muscle that's attached to it. The human body is quite complex. So that's why we invent, simple structures so that we can draw them as artists. I will go like this. I'm just going to put this down like this. Then you're going to see our obliques. The obliques that were in the front view, you're going to see them popping like this. And that lats that you saw in the front view over here like this guy over here, this guy over here, you can see lats in blue. That is what we are seeing at the back view here, like this, and it's overlapping. It's the only muscle showing because it's overlapping the serratus anterior, because if not, one of the muscles we will be seeing here is the serratus posterior muscle, right? We're going to be seeing that serratus muscle from the back view, and underneath this lat muscle is a muscle called the erector spinae muscle. Right, simple as that. So practice and references. Right, I'll be able to break down the back. Something I usually do is that when I draw the back, I will just do this simple shape. I just say, and the neck, I just say this is an arrow. This simple shape like this is an arrow. I don't know if you're seeing this. This is an arrow which is going to represent the traps, and this is an arrow. This other arrow here is going to represent the lats, and then we have our external obliques over here, and I'm going to show you the remaining muscles that are here, and erector spinae muscles. And then we're going to have our rhomboid muscle, which is this guy over here, uh, and it goes sort of like this. The muscle, the rhomboid muscle, it goes sort of like this. It takes that rhombus shape. I believe that's a shape. It takes that shape. And then we have our infraspinatus, and then our teres major and our teres minor. So this is our infraspinatus. This is our teres major, and this is our teres minor. Same thing we'll be applying here. Simple as that. And we have our back muscle, ladies and gentlemen. And we've drawn our torso. So, of course, you could then add some part of the arm. But we're not dealing with the arm, so we won't do a lot of that. Ideally, this would be the triceps and just a bit of the biceps that's showing. Yeah. Of course, you could then add detail if you want, like a bit of striation here and there. So I'm going to just color code some of these muscles so that they look all right, I think. But I just hope you've understood, what we're talking about here. Let me just shift to the next image. And label this real quick. Just add some striations. Doing practice like this has helped me a lot, especially since at the moment I'm currently not at where I want to be in terms of understanding perspectives. Yeah. Doing this and using simple shapes, because simple shapes are easier to manipulate in space. So you can then sort of like put them, you can then use them as, the bricks, or we'll say the good foundation that you can use to then apply the complex forms on your characters. And it can be tedious work sometimes, but you will get better. So I think that's it. Let me just label them so that you can see what I did here, or the muscles that are being talked about, because especially these muscles around here, because when I first saw them I was a bit confused about those muscles, but with constant practice and repetition over and over again, I got better at it. So let me just color them. I'm going to use this for the, I think we already have a color for the traps. Let me just duplicate this and shrink it. We already have a color for the traps, so let me just pick this. The traps moving like this. That's our traps. Then our latissimus dorsi is this guy over here. Let me just expand this so that goes all the way like this. Very big muscle. Then we'll have our deltoid, one of the other big shapes that actually frames the back. And then we'll add, right, so then we could add the rest of the muscles I was talking about. So this would be our rhomboid, this guy over here. This is our rhomboid. Remember, there are muscles overlapping it. That's what is giving them that original shape. And then we have our teres major here. Teres minor. And infraspinatus. There's also the supraspinatus, but we can't see that because of other muscles are overlapping it, like the trapezius muscle. Yeah, so making that easier to identify. And that's the back muscles. I didn't add obliques. Let me just add that quickly. Right, so as simple as that. And then that's it for now. Then the next thing we're going to do, let me look at my so we just, those are the most important muscles that you need to know when looking at the front and the back. Let me just list out the muscles for the back so that going to be easier. So I'm just going to put these straps, lats. Let me just write their full names to be easier. Trapezius muscle or traps, latissimus dorsi or lats, or what else? Deltoid, because you get to see the rear and the medial delt, and then obliques, and then infraspinatus, and then teres major, teres minor, rhomboid, and of course you could add the erector spinae, but we're not seeing that, so just forget about that part. So let me just add colors quickly. Traps are going to be here. Lats, back sorry, deltoid, obliques, infraspinatus, teres major, teres minor, and rhomboid lastly. Yeah, so that's just a quick sketch. I should have added the sternocleidomastoid muscle here, but we'll leave that. So let me see what I have here in my notes. I think the next thing, since we've done that, next thing we're going to do is that we're going to get some references and actually draw from them, comic book references from people, from artists rather, and break them down based on this knowledge that we have, this basic knowledge. um so let me see. Let me get, a reference. It should be interesting. Let me, so look at how different artists draw their different parts of the body. So we have this Batman cover by Greg Capullo. I think this was done a very long time ago. It's saying 2012, right? So we're just going to sort of copy the anatomy over here because this is a unique angle. So chest, right? So whenever I'm breaking my chest, like I said, I look at simple shapes, and the simplest way to break this down, you don't just start from the head, unless of course you're Kim Jong-gi, and more power to you then. But I just break this down into simple shapes. So what I do to make things easier for me and my brain is that I'll just do a circle over here and then do a barrel shape, right? Or a sphere shape. Or you could do, or you could do a sphere shape like this, and then add a center line to sort of direct where the chest is going, right? And then remember that T that I told you about in terms of the sternum and the clavicle, to show you where the sternum and clavicle are going. So I'll do something like this, and then just go straight. And then in continuation of acknowledging our big shapes, I'm going to do a circle like this for this deltoid, and then another circle like this for this other deltoid. And then we're in business. We've already established the good shape of the torso, right? We've established a good shape of the torso. And I will just use a simple cone shape. And you can see the arm here is foreshortened, so you're going to have to take note of that and how you're going to draw this cylinder over here, right? So very simple like that. You're going to see our lats popping off here. The way Greg Capullo draws his own Batman, he draws him a bit more leaner, like a calisthenics athlete. It's very cool, quite similar to the Batman from The Dark Knight. All right, so since we have this basic shape, and it has helped us with this, you could always add this other shape here if you want to draw the leg. That's quite tempting. And underwear shape here. Right. So you can see that it's stretching. Our arms, the arms are being stretched. So that's our chest going like that. That's the chest. And then, so that's our pectoralis major, right? And then our rectus abdominis. So we're going to put our rib cage shape here to help us guide how we're going to place our rectus abdominis. We're going to put that like this, and this is going to be our obliques. Yeah, so very helpful. And that's going to be our latissimus dorsi over here. I didn't follow it exactly, but I don't mind what I've done. So then we're going to put our deltoid shape here, and then the other, I think that's going to be our medial slash rear delt. You can always add more muscle. Right, so deltoid shape. So doing studies like this, if you are going, you want to work in film, or you want to see how things like what do they call it now, into the across this into the spider verse, like things like that are done. You can then look into how those artists that worked on it, you look at the books they've done, you take it and then study it, right? In this case, I like comics, so I want to see how a comic book artist will properly draw. Take notes of those muscles as well, those basic muscles we talked about. And when you stretch, you're going to see this muscle over here. This muscle over here, you can see it here. It's called the coracobrachialis, and it's just under the arm. And that is why I emphasize knowing the muscles, because it's going to help you whenever you see things like this, because you understand the shape of the muscles. Even if you make a mistake in your structural drawing or your gestural drawing, you you still find yourself landing on your feet. And let me just outline this a bit more, rather. You can then add the details for your muscles if you want. That muscle there is the tensor fasciae latae muscle. And then we have our rectus femoris muscle. And then these are quads muscles. So yeah, so we're not looking at that, we're looking at the torso. So let's look at another reference for the torso. So I've been fun to like detail this a bit. Or we'll leave that here for now. Maybe the next one I will. Maybe. So let's put the next image. Right, these are cool pose from David Finch. I might actually, you know. So the neck, we're starting from the neck in this case. Well, ideally you start from the barrel shape, right, that we talked about. Start from the barrel shape. Then the big shape we talked about, the center line, don't forget your center line. Then the T that we talked about, right? Or some people use a box, but I like to start from the barrel shape. So remember the T line we talked about. Simple as that. We have broken down this pose. Of course, you can then add this. And add this to break it down. Simple as that. We've broken down these Superman pose. And then let's just add the neck. Still remember it's following the center line so that you stay on track. Right, so that was cool. Now we detail a bit. Then our chest, or clavicle for the chest. Comic muscles are usually exaggerated, but they are still consistent with realism, because you can look at this area here. You can just tell this artist knows what he's doing. That's that deltopectoral groove that I told you about, and you can see the chest leading into the arm, and like because of his clothes, like the clothes this Ultraman is wearing, it's not going to, like, a lot of his muscles are not going to be shown. As the, of course, we're not dealing with the arms, so I'm just going to leave that. Yeah, and our lats. Our lats is smooth dorsal, that V shape. Right, and then the way Finch, like this, why you need to take note of the way different artists draw. So the way David Finch does his abs is that he just curves it like this, yeah, and then he pushes it inwards and then outwards again at the bottom, and then he has like, you know, three abs. Like ideally it's four sets, but he does three. It's four in total, but it's three that is mostly highlighted. And if you don't have understanding of the anatomy, it can kind of confuse you as to the decision he's making, especially when you then look at a different artist that then makes a different decision. So you see the way he drew his own serratus anterior, you can see it's curved like this, 1, 2, and then there's one more there that's deep in the dark, because of light, it's not shown. I don't know if I did that well, probably not. But anyways, let's continue. So you can then see his obliques going like this, and you can see some of that here as well. That looks nice. The rest of the deltoid is in shadow over here. Yeah, we're not dealing with the rest of the arm, so let's just leave that. You know what? I might be a little cheeky and just add a bit of black here and there to this. And he uses black a lot. That is what makes the drawing they look very interesting, especially the muscles. Let me just add this black here. You don't see that a lot. and simply like that understanding, you can be able to copy almost any art style, you can argue. Can argue that we can copy almost any art style, even though David Finch is something I like drawing a lot. I like his style of inking. And then add this shadow, add these other apps. You have to copy it verbatim, um just still try and stay close to them, the artist that you're studying. That's what I mean. All right, then you can then do the hatches. You can then do the hatches to um, direct the form. And then it's going to look very three-dimensional. Let me just plug my phone. So I'm just adding the hatches that are going to, add form to the drawing and just make it look a bit cooler. I actually should increase the size of the ink so that I can get those triangular looking hatches. I mean, and yeah, that looks quite good. That looks quite good. Right. All right. I believe that's it. Of course, the neck. You could add the neck, the sternocleidomastoid. They're very subtle about it. They're very subtle about it. You don't have to draw every muscle striation for it to be that you've drawn a good muscle. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's okay. That looks good. Let me just do one more. I got carried away. Let's do another chest pose. This downward chest pose. Possibly something that is not David Finch, someone else. Which other artists do I have? I probably don't use other artists a lot. I have one here. Let's see. I definitely have something. Who's this artist? Yeah, I don't know who this artist is, but let's look at this one. Right, so it's almost similar to this first one that we did here. And the hatchet is just makes hello Ra 1809, how you doing? I hope you're having a nice weekend. Hope things are looking great on your end. I'm just doing a quick torso study. I'm doing a quick torso study. I just broke down the basic muscles that actually make up the torso. So what I'm doing now is that I'm using references and trying to show how I would break the torso down of this, from actual, not necessarily real life people, but how comic book artists, how you would look at a comic book art and break the torso in it. So that's what I'm doing here. So I have this hole here for my neck. So I'm just going to put the head since the neck is not going to be shown. And I'm going to remember our T-line, always remember our T-line. The T-line that actually makes the clavicle and the sternum for the chest bone, right? We have our barrel shape here for our chest, and then we're going to add this circle for our deltoid, right? We're just going to put that down there like that. And of course, because we know we have more than those muscles there, you know, all the way down here like this. Let's just put that. And we've gotten a good shape for this character. What the hell? Yeah, so because of the perspective and the position of his body, he's leaning down a bit. So we're going to be seeing, and he's a bulky dude, or this version of Batman is a bulky dude. So we know that this muscle over here is going to be our triceps, and his clothes are sort of covering like his neck. They're sort of covering his neck. So we're going to see some of our neck muscles here and there. I'm trying to copy it. I'm focusing on the torso though. Thank you, I appreciate. I'm focusing on the torso. So let's just put the arm, because the arm is quite significant and it's overlapping the lats. So I'm going to use this cylinder shape to represent that shape of the arm, and then same also at this end, right? And then we can then see that we have the chest is quite big here. Then we're going to have our lats like this. Then you're going to see at this edge is going to sort of be like this. And then you can use the underwear shape to sort of guide you. And then over here, we're going to put a shape for our knee, for the knee, rather, because he has a knee that is sort of coming out from this part of his body. And then we can then put the legs. All right, so since we have our bases covered, I'm just going to detail this a bit. And just erase a little bit of that, and then we can now detail it a bit. I'm just going to put this like that. Right, the shape of the muscle is going to determine the silhouettes that the character has. Definitely, it doesn't have to look perfect. I'm already seeing errors that I can fix, but I don't want to because I'm trying to get to the next study. Remember our clavicle and our breastbone. And then just put that there like that. Then our bicep muscle. And then, oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So that's our traps over there. That's our traps over there. And he really simplified the muscle because this is a Batman that is sort of like a bodybuilder, a power lifter, more like. And you can see how, like, even with the clothes, the it's sort of showing how, when we were looking at the striations of the muscle, is directing it. That's why I said the skin is kind of like a cloth for the muscle, and you're going to see creases depending on the movement of the skin or the body. All right, let's let me just add this huge knee over here. And he's a calf. um shouldn't be focusing on the leg at the moment, but it's such a powerful pose. I just think I would let me just finish that area. Then we're going to work on this. I'll just put a normal underwear here. All right, let me just add some blacks to make the character look good, and some hatches to make it look decent. Remember our pectoral groove here, delta pectoral groove, like that. Then let's add this like this. And then if it were David Finch, he would definitely attack this a lot differently than this guy. Even though like it's like clothes like material and not like an armor that he's wearing. All right. Um, and the shadow, always take note of the shadow, like I keep saying. Shadow is coming as a result of like the position of his cape and also the arms. And here he didn't like add a lot of muscles to this Batman because like I said, the size, he's more of a power lifter, this version. So there won't be a lot of muscles, but it's still good to understand the shape that I was talking about, like the latissimus dorsi and the pelvis and all these other important shapes. And over here, based on light's direction, apparently his head his head is affecting the shadow around here. Yeah, and that's I think let's get some. And just put a little bit of light here, something like a bounce light. All right, yeah, and we just simply, defined the shape. So let's just add a bit of texture with hatching lines. They're going to be seeing have to follow the form. I'm not doing this hatching well, but we'll make it work. Right. Simple shape, and we're good. You can see it's following the direction. Make your hatches follow the direction. Remember the form of whatever it is that we're looking at. And center, so define this. And our character has depth. You can then add all the little, we're not doing texturing here, but you can just adding lines here and there is what's going to give the character depth. What's going to give it depth, I mean. All right. He said, sorry I missed your message, Raha. He said, it's 3 a.m. here, but I still like watching me walk, you walk. Thank you, I appreciate it. It's just 55 minutes past 12 a.m. here. So you guys are ahead of us um, by like 3 hours or four. Thank you, I really appreciate the support. Thank you. So just adding hatches here and there so that I can, so that it's going to look decent and not totally horrible. Even though there's a lot of ways I could, refine it and stuff, make it just look decent. I could do like detailing here and just sort of add a curve here for the traps like this, and just make this like this. Yeah, something simple like that. And then this area is going to be quite dark because of how deep it is. Yeah, so simple stuff like that, and you're able to draw a really good and convincing torso. Um, not my best work, but I like it. Let's look at something else. Let's look at the time. What's the time? How long have I been on? 97 minutes. Let's see if I can do one more torso um, from reference. All of the ones here are David Finch. I'm just wishing. Yeah, let me check. Uh, let me look at Damora. Damora has some cool poses as well. Yeah, look at this Superman. It's almost similar thing to the Batman that I just did here. But let's just draw it. Let's just work with it. What I like Damora's art is that he knows the basics so well, and his comics are very they make you want to draw if you are like, I don't know, it kind of reminds you of being a kid that wanted to draw, and you always want to sort of copy what he's doing. Center line, very simple drawings. Then big shapes. Remember the big shapes we talked about. And then your cubes. I said cubes. Your tubes. I mean, it's supposed to be one here and shape here. We're just going to leave that for now. Anyways. And he doesn't add so much detail, but when by the time he's done, the work just looks really beautiful and nice to look at. Yeah, that's cool. That looks really cool. So always remember your construction when you're starting out, so that the drawing is going to be easy for you to break down and draw. um, yeah, so that's it, and then I'm going to like just detail it a little bit, just a little bit. Let me see if I could sneak in those blacks he added. Let me see if I can sneak them in. He's also very fast. Like I saw him ink one um I think it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle walk or cover that he was doing, and the guy is lightning quick, man. I believe he's the one carrying the whole of DC as of like 2025 and 2026. Um, I think he and Jorge Jimenez, I believe, for a while have been carrying DC, and he does a lot of artwork. And I think he's currently doing Transformers, so you can check out his work out. I think I would I'll try and do a study on his work, same way I did for Inoue. I'll just sort of do one for him. Mm, I like how he just used black. He's just like straight to the point, and of course he adds his hatches and stuff like that, but he does it in a very graphic way that it just looks cool and like a painting sometimes. um I don't know how to explain it. But you can see really cool patterns around it, as if he almost used that Procreate or something, because those patterns I'm seeing, they look. Oh, no, 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 he used Clip Studio Paint. He used Clip Studio Paint. That pattern is from Clip Studio Paint. The one around his around here, I think that's Clip Studio Paint. Just going to pretend like that is. So every artist has their style, and that is why you study different artists, and eventually you figure out your own style on how to draw anatomy in a unique way, um, irrespective of the fact that you know the fundamentals. Just add this side. Me, let's see. Me do do this. Make them recede into the light, and make them go up like this. I don't know if that's looking the best, but I'll take it like that for now, man. And then this is our lats over here, like this. And then definitely that area is going to be dark. I'm sure David Finch would do this in a very different way, very different manner. And he will add like the obliques, you know, he's going to do something a lot different. and he could even do this. Yeah, I just like his texturing. The way he approaches it, it's not like he doesn't apply like traditional hatches all the time. Anyways, let me just do this to just give it form, make it look more interesting. Yeah, and I think that is the torso. Of course, sometimes you could just add the shoe of the character, but nah, not now. Yeah, I think that is good. We're going to I'm going to do more torso studies probably tomorrow. Maybe do that of women. Um, yes. So I really enjoyed this. This was fun. Uh, this was fun. I hope it helped someone out. It taught someone something, or at least reminded them of something like with regards to the human torso and the male torso. And this is not the last time I'm going to do a torso study. I'm going to do them over and over and over again across the time in my life. And the more you do them, the more you improve. And definitely the next studies I do, they are going to look much more better than what I have here. um, Hopefully it was helpful to somebody, and I will see you in the next video. uh, I want to say a big thank you to Russia, from Iran. I really appreciate you, man. Thanks for showing up. Thanks to who is Das, Das. I'm going to say Das 2386. Thank you for commenting, and thank you for leaving a like. I really appreciate you. Anybody that engages. Thank you so much, and thanks to Royal. Thanks for showing up again in my stream. I'm really grateful. Dayo, I really thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for showing up. Raha, thanks for showing up again. Thanks for showing love. Thanks for commenting. I hope you're having a nice day, everybody. And thanks to everybody that constantly shows up, even if it's just 1 minute, and supports me. Um, Thank you. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.